Hello and welcome back to the next installment of our LifterLMS Masterclass series with Nathan Tyler. We were doing 3 sessions with Nathan. The first session was about offering a coaching upsell or just generally doing coaching from your LMS and how to do that with a tool called Simply Schedule Appointments that automates that. Yesterday, we talked about Nathan's product Staging Pilot, which makes it so that your website updates itself automatically. And if there's ever any issues, which it does all these scans and tests to see, it lets you know so that nothing ever breaks during the update process. And if you do have any issues, you can get it resolved quickly. At the bottom of the LifterLMS website at lifterlms.com, there's a webinars link. If you ever want to go back and revisit a webinar, it'll always be there. And also today we're going to get into another topic that is really important to course creators, which is teaching, learning. So yesterday we had our technology hat on. Perhaps the previous day we had our entrepreneur hat on, thinking about coaching and making more money with our courses, or instructional design, designing courses with coaching. But today we really have our instructional design hat on, our teaching hat on. And we are looking at how to create interactive image content, because one of the problems in our industry as online educators is that a lot of courses and memberships, they tend towards what I call edutainment, where people get inside the course, they get all excited, they took out the wallet, they bought the course, and they get into the lesson, and then they just press play, and they sit back, and it's more of it's educational, but it's a little bit passive and entertaining, which is good. Your content should be entertaining, but we really want our learners taking actions and doing stuff and interacting with the content and taking that content out into the real world and, having personalization and stuff like that. So Nathan has a tool called Draw Attention that we're going to demo today. So I'd like you to put your instructional design hat on and think about how you could make your lesson content more engaging. So how to think outside the video, think outside the audio, think outside of the lesson worksheet or download. All those things are really important, but one of the things that doesn't get used as much as it could is images, and especially what Nathan's going to demo here, interactive images. It can be very powerful for learning. Visual learning is it's a big part of how people learn. I personally am a visual learner, so I'm drawn towards things like videos and images more than text and other learning styles. So super excited to get into that. And first, before I keep going, I just want to say, hey, Nathan, thanks for coming back. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. 3rd day in a row. Thanks for anybody who showed up for all 3.
Yeah. I see some of the same names in the list. So thank you guys for engaging. And I think you'll get a lot of value out of this class here and get you thinking in terms of curriculum design and some new ideas or ways of teaching that you may not have thought of before. So Nathan does have a product called Draw Attention, which we're going to, he's going to show you how it works, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. We do have a couple bonuses available if you if you want to take advantage of those for participating here. So bonus number 1 for Draw Attention. And by the way, you can find these at lifterlms.com/draw. Bonus number 1 is 20% off if you purchase Draw Attention within 72 hours from the live webinar here. And the coupon code for that is just LifterLMS. So if you're watching this on the replay and not here with us live, this aired on Wednesday, May 16th at 11 a.m. Pacific. Bonus number 2 is a neat bonus. Nathan is offering to check out something that you made with Draw Attention. So if you make it and they end up including it in their showcase, like their examples, they'll double the length of your license, which is super cool, super valuable. if you end up making something really cool that he can kind of show off to people interested in draw attention, he'll hook you up with a extra amount of time on your license, which is super cool. Also, we're going to be giving away at LifterLMS a $99 add-on of your choice, or you can apply that to another product or bundle that we have if you'd like a $99 discount. Or if you're already a customer and you just want to, and you win, you can apply that to your license. It will extend whatever license on whatever product you would like out by that value. So just let us know on that. We'll be announcing that in a little bit. So stick around. And again, all this is over at lifterlms.com/draw. Also, full disclosure, we are an affiliate partner with Nathan and Draw Attention. And of course, we only refer and recommend products that we see the value in, and made by people and teams that we really respect and trust. So check that out at lifterlms.com/draw. So, and one more thing I just wanted to mention before I hand it over to Nathan. People come at building online courses from lots of different angles. Perhaps you're coming from a teacher background from the classroom. Perhaps you're just coming from the WordPress industry, and you're finding all these interesting things you can do with posts, like make lessons and courses and now interactive content. Perhaps you're coming from the e-learning industry and you've been using e-learning authoring tools like Adobe Captivate and Storyline and these types of tools. In WordPress, it's amazing how the blog post has evolved into being able to be used for all these different things, especially here in this teaching context. But there's always been the content problem. We can do a lot with these post types, but we can embed videos, we can do text, images, and downloads. But really making it like game-like and interactive, there's a lot of room for innovation. So I'm really happy to bring Nathan to you all today to check out a way to innovate on what I call the content problem inside your courses. And one last thing before I hand it over. Again, I just want to welcome Tyler, Tom, Paulo, Patricia, Michelle, Mark, Kev, Jonathan, Graham, Dr. Angela Knuckles, Diane, Dale, Anthony, and Amy to the call. If you guys don't mind, let us know in the chat where you're calling in from. It's always inspiring to see where all you education entrepreneurs are at all over the world. There is a Q&A box here in the Zoom. So if you have any questions as we go, please feel free to add your questions in there. You can also post them in the chat. And we'll also be having an opportunity if you want to chat live. There's a feature where you can raise your hand here in Zoom. If you're watching this over on Facebook, feel free to leave a comment over there, and we'll address those as well. So we've got folks from Cyprus, New Jersey, Nevada, upstate New York, Florida, San Diego, Wisconsin, UK, north of Scotland. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to the call. Nathan, take us on a tour. Let's see what we're going to learn today.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't do a better intro than you've given to all of this about the importance of it. So basically, I think I'll kind of jump in and kind of show you real quickly like what it is, so you get kind of a glimpse of how it works and what it can do. Then I'd like to show like some examples so you can kind of get some ideas going about how this could be used in a variety of situations. And Chris will obviously jump in at any point if how it applies specifically to learning or course creation. Because some of our examples are from real estate or other areas. The concepts could be applied though. And then we'll kind of go a little bit deeper into like if this is something you want to do, how do you actually do it? How much flexibility and control do you have over it? So that's kind of the path I was going to take today. So let's first just take a look and see what a draw attention image looks like on a page. So this is a draw attention image here. You have like highlightable areas and you can click on any of them for more information, and you can put photos in there or short codes or more text or information. You create these highlightable areas by just clicking little points. You can draw any shape, you can draw simple rectangles very quickly, or you can draw lots of little points and make very complex areas that you can highlight and show more information on. You get the opportunity to customize the color, so each area can have its own separate color. You can control the opacities and the thicknesses. There's lots of visual control there. You can also see down in these layout options. So to show the more information for anything, there's options where you can show this information on the left. You can show it on the right. You can show it in a little pop-up that shows up. And there's like a lightbox option as well that overlays, which is what you saw up at the top of the page. So there's a pretty good variety in terms of presentation, and it'll be different as you kind of see based on the content. You can choose one that best accommodates that. If you have tons of information you want to present, a pop-up or a lightbox is really helpful. If it's just lots of little quick paragraphs or a link to more information, using kind of the left or right layout works pretty well. So here's another example, and you can there's a couple different actions that are supported. So you can link to external URLs. So you could link to a Wikipedia page, and then when they click on something, you can open that in a new tab. Take them off to something else on your site or to an external resource. So if you don't want to show more information in the pop-up and you just want to use it as kind of like a old school image map to link to other information, you can do that. So there's a lot of different applications. That's kind of a lot of information, but that's kind of give you the overview of what this tool is. I think that makes sense.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'd like to jump into some examples of, so you can see our customers. Oh, actually first, I forgot to mention, it's all fully responsive. So it'll work on your mobile phone. It works with touch support. So obviously you can't tell that your finger is hovering over something. It doesn't show up colored until you tap it. It'll pop up. We do have an option where you can have all the areas on an image show up as highlighted by default. So if you have an image that's not necessarily clear that it's interactive, and you just want to pre-highlight all of the areas so that somebody knows that they can be interacted with, that's also an option, and especially helpful on mobile. But basically everything scales down and is responsive, and if you choose a left or right hand layout, it will move it below the image. You can see even these little tooltip pop-up things kind of reposition and make sure that they're all positioned on a small screen. So obviously people are probably learning in a variety of different devices and looking at their stuff on the go. So any kind of interactive content that you create will work on all devices. Now we'll get into some examples. So we have our customer showcase on our site, and we have some demos of our own. And so I've just picked kind of a variety of things. Some of them are not going to feel like they apply necessarily to me. They don't feel like they apply directly to some of these learning things like the real estate stuff, but you can see some really clever uses of it, which could totally be applied to any kind of use case. So obviously just using it for infographics and basic information is a great way to kind of bury and expose information to the user without overwhelming them. You can provide lots of data here, but it looks really clean and simple, and they can dive into more data. Some people are using it to take a really simple concept, and you can use it to link between your pages and lessons. You could use it on your sales pages to kind of educate about the different stages of your course. And you could use it within your course. You could put this in a quiz question. You could put, all this can be embedded with the shortcode. So anything you see here, you could put in a quiz question, in a lesson, in your sales marketing materials.
Yeah, just to jump in there on that, I think the obvious use case is on your lesson content. You know, if you're like teaching about the human body or about geography or about some kind of process or infographic. But a lot of the courses out there have, like for the sales page of a course on the course description, a lot of courses are, you know, kind of phases or process driven, or in LifterLMS, we call them sections. So when you're selling somebody on what your course is all about, you can write about it, which is great. You know, the good written sales copy or just the words on the page for your course description is very important. But if you can like visually show people the three phases to creating the transformation or the result, or you know, your teaching style, or the 6 or the 12 steps or whatever it is that gives people a visual, kind of like this roadmap you have right here on like the 6 areas where we're going to talk about, you know, like getting started, getting the tools together, you know, building the chicken coop, getting your first chickens, whatever it is. There's all these like phases that are much more appealing to the visual eye and can also take complex information and distill it down to something that's much more rapidly understandable, especially on a sales page where you care about the attention span of people. You know, using draw attention, you can really basically lay out your value proposition or your unique selling proposition, whatever you want to call it, really visually. And also, like you mentioned, Nathan, the lesson is, you know, we teach all kinds of stuff in our lessons, but also on the quizzes. You know, if you want to put some kind of interactive thing in the quiz question, you can do that to make it much more rich. Not all quiz questions are just text and like, you know, a picture could tell an entire story that then the question or the assignment then asks you to do something with that information. So just wanted to highlight that. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. And we have, you know, some customers who are pretty data driven and do a lot of analytics, and they see like the engagement on these pieces is really high. You know, even on just the sales pages, people normally only spend, you know, they have like average on page time of like 30 seconds. They had people clicking around for an extra 30 seconds, just kind of playing around with these elements. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. Like by default, we put an image area, which you kind of saw like when you clicked on the floor plan and it showed a photo of the kitchen. So you can upload an image, and then you have a, you know, HTML area. But that HTML area can also support any shortcode. So you can put an image gallery in there. You could embed a YouTube video, an audio file. So like you can actually put a lot of great information inside of that extra info area.
If I may do an example on that, you may, like with LifterLMS, for example, we have shortcodes that you could put in a certain category of courses. You know, if you have courses, you could like have, you know, a wheel that has all the different triangles or slices of the different categories of courses on your site, and people could click on it, and then, you know, the pop-up can display the courses that are relevant to that category. So it's a much more visual, interactive way of helping people find stuff. That's super cool. So shortcodes within the pop-ups.
Yeah. So you can use, you know, draw attention itself generates a shortcode, which you can place anywhere, you know, in your, you know, course and lessons, or just on any WordPress page, on any WordPress site. You know, you can put it in, you know, on your sales page and promotional stuff. It doesn't have to be in the course, but it can be used anywhere. And then actually, after you generate this image, the stuff that shows up in the more info can have any shortcode or HTML content inside of it as well. So yeah,
I love this picture you're just showing there about the bag with the items in it. It's like school supplies. So if I have a fitness course and I'm like, all right, you need to get your yoga mat, you know, a jump rope, a kettlebell, and like it's like showing you what all these different things are. It's way cool, so much cooler than like a shopping list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be like on your, you know, getting started checklist. Like this has got to be your go bag for being the expert in this field. Like this is such a more fun way to do it, right? Than just a bulleted list of things that you need to buy.
Yeah, like if you had a CPR course, you could go over. I mean, that's very important. Like, what are all these tools in the first aid bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, we have like lots of like bloggers and people who are in fashion or whatever who will like, highlight this hat, highlight this code, and like then you can see where you can buy it. And a lot of them will use affiliate links. There's a lot of use cases for it.
Yeah, no, just I know Dale has a question. We'll save us the questions for the end, but Dale's question about you can use this anywhere. It's not just in courses. So just like the example that Nathan was describing, you could use it on a blog for something completely unrelated to the education piece.
Yeah, so yeah, we have people just putting it. I mean, a lot of these are just in standard WordPress pages. Yeah. So yeah, maps. Let's see, we got some more examples. Yeah, so floor plans. There's lots of cool floor plans. So they're kind of like the one we showed on the homepage, or this just to kind of show certain areas and with really simple text. This one is a much more advanced example. Like you can actually like see a full like floor plan of a level. You can download like a PDF. So they've really made it like they have this whole kind of condo complex that they're selling into. They have people who use it for like campus maps and just kind of interactive directories. Also get into that you can customize the colors. So you can have like different styles. And so some people will use it to like indicate whether something is like sold or available. You can kind of like color code your highlighted areas. There's some other use cases for that. We have a guy in Vietnam who's renting out houseboats, and he like his visual tours will draw attention of the different houseboats you can rent out and whether they're available or not. We have lots of creative uses where people are like cross-linking multiple of these images. There's another real estate project where like if you click on one of these levels, then it goes to a whole separate page with a whole other interactive image, which has like, so you can have layers upon layers of, content that's kind of, you can have it like seem very simple, but then lots of depth in that content.
Yeah, and people in the learning space, sometimes they talk about nonlinear courses, where there's like this branching that happens. So if you have like a giant course and you have this, you could use a tool like this for people to kind of self-select on through the image, some kind of thing they're interested in, or the type of business they have, or the type of person they are, or whatever. And then it can point them to another lesson specifically related to what they click on. And that just adds a whole nother level of personalization, and nonlinear learning is the technical name for that. It's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess at this point I was going to jump into an example of like, instead I've kind of shown you a range of different ideas and hopefully given you some ideas of like, how might this work in a variety of scenarios. Here we're just going to work with one scenario, like just this one image, and we'll actually jump into the back end and show you how you could customize it, switching the layout modes, playing with the colors, some of the things I've kind of just glossed over. We'll get into in a little bit more detail. So here we have this nice image for bartending 101, some basic drinks. And you can see we have the right-hand layout. So as you click each item, they show up. So you have this layout box over here. We can move it to the bottom instead of showing up on the right-hand side. So as we click each one now, the stuff shows up below. And you can see it's not the perfect fit for each. It kind of depends on the content. So you might play around with this a little bit with each image. And especially if you have lots of information, the Lightbox and Tooltip are really better fits because you have more space. And then your primary image, the map, will show up the full width of the page. You're not like, then your content goes edge to edge, and then the more info will pop up like in a Lightbox. So some of this fits a lot better.
And that's all included, right? There's no need for a separate Lightbox plugin or anything like that?
Right, yeah, it's all included.
Awesome.
And then the tooltip also is, it's all bundled as part of the plugin, but the tooltip is another popular one where the lightbox can be it provides a lot of information, but it's kind of a big lag time to switch between, like this is much quicker if you're going to scan, if you have lots of objects of interest that you want to kind of jump between. The lightbox is just a little bit more cumbersome because I have to dismiss the lightbox and then go back and reset and click the next one. You can even switch it to a hover mode. So I've been having it on the click mode before, but here you can actually just hover over the areas, and you can see, like, without even clicking, it just kind of moves around and follows your mouse. So it's another option. The problem here, obviously, is if you want to click any information inside of that box, you can never get your mouse inside of that more info box to click it because it kind of moves around past you. So for this, it's a fine example, but if you want to have like a button in here that says, click for more info or click here to play the video, this would be a very bad choice because your users would be very frustrated to never get there. And then when they, if you're on mobile, the hover obviously doesn't exist. So then it gets kind of converted to a click or a tap. In general, the hover can feel a little jumpy, especially if you have, it works well in this one because there's lots of white space between your highlightable areas. But if you have like a really dense image, like a trade show floor where there's booths all next to each other or something, it can feel a little jumpy as you move your mouse. So in general, I always kind of prefer the click, but again, it always depends on your use case. And if it's just kind of an exploration, kind of fun thing like this, the hover is a really nice fit.
And you may be mentioning this later, but you can also put videos inside the pop-ups too, right?
That's right. Yeah, any shortcode, any YouTube video. And a common question we get is how is this on performance, and is this a really heavy plugin? The thing is, it's actually not. It's not running Flash or any kind of crazy technology. It's this is just one image that's in your media library, and then we use HTML5 Canvas, which is a pretty lightweight tool. It's basically if you're familiar with a vector object, it's not loading a big heavy image, it's just coordinates. So we're just storing all these little points that you draw. We store those coordinates, and then we just lay it over the top, and then we scale it to fit the size of the device. So it's very lightweight. All your more info things are also loaded on the page. So even if for search engine purposes, like this, sorry, get out of there. I forgot to quit my application. What I was saying is the content is loaded up on the page, so it will get indexed by search engines, and these are stored as H2 or H3 tags, and these are your paragraph text, so everything gets indexed as well. Shoot. So I think we're back here. So then I was just going to show how you can kind of customize the colors. So each of these colors is fully customizable. Now you can see we changed that to a pretty poor color choice. It's easy to customize that. You can customize the highlights and the opacity, to any kind of color combination that you want. So you can get creative. You can make a really thick border for emphasis, or you can make it thin or invisible. You have lots of visual control over the styling. Down here, you'll see the buttons for the always show hotspots for this image. Now you get an additional color because one is the color that they're on by default, and then this is the color when you're actually hovering over it. So we'll make them orange by default at kind of a low opacity so people know, hey, these are clickable areas, and then when you roll your mouse over them, they'll turn red. Show you that. there. Now, like on this image, it's a little redundant because it's kind of the only thing on the page, but particularly if you have like one of those other graphics where, it may just look like a standard image on your page, by highlighting them, it's more clear, hey, this is something that you can interact with. So it's a good way to draw attention to your image. And we also have the option for multiple highlight styles. So like I said, this is most common for like if something's sold or available, or if you have some feature that's in your high-end plan or low-end plan, you can group things however you want. For this example, I decided to make 2 styles, one with served with a cherry or served without a cherry for our drinks. And we can color them accordingly. So we can make these cherry ones red, and then we have a bunch of preset color themes that just, because setting each of these colors individually, it's very easy to pick really bad color combinations. You have the flexibility to do it, but we also have like a dozen preset color combinations that look nice together, and will get you there a little bit faster, and then you could tweak it from there. So here, now each image, actually, and I'm realizing I don't think we've actually showed you this part yet, but this is actually editing a single image, so you can see all the dots that we drew to go around that image. You can give it a title, you can mark it with a specific style. The action, you get to show more info, which is showing that image in the HTML or linking it straight off to a URL. So I selected the style. There's the image that we're uploading. And you can see that description box is just a standard WordPress editor that you use, so you can put any kind of shortcode or video or any other data in there. So I'm just going to jump through and mark some of these styles.
Can I put like a gravity form in there? Like if I have a shortcode for a gravity form or something?
Yeah, you can. You're going to want to make sure that it's like an Ajax form so that it's not confused. But and it may not look great in this small area. You probably just want to do like an email collection or something rather than a full form. You don't want to put a multi-page 50-field form in here, but technically you could.
That's cool.
But yeah, so here you can see the ones that were served with a cherry are now red by default because of the styling that we chose. Here's our other 3 that we marked without a cherry, and then these 2 are the default. So you can have the default coloring and then any number of styles that you want to have. So here I think we were going to show the video example. That's right. So yeah, you can put any kind of image gallery, any shortcode in here. I'm just going to go to YouTube and grab a quick video. So you can use WordPress's embed shortcode. Go ahead and put that video right in line.
I have a question for you that I don't know the answer, that I should probably know the answer to, but what does that do when you, instead of just putting the link in directly, what does the embed shortcode do?
It just forces it to, I mean, actually the way that I put it, I think there's no difference. But if you use the embed shortcode, you can do things like force, like you can pass other parameters, like you can put a specific width or height, or
autoplay maybe?
Autoplay, that like you can pass extra stuff to it.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then here I'm just adding a link, off to the Wikipedia page. So you can have the video and the link off to more information. There's our YouTube video. I'm sorry, I thought I quit that.
Okay, while you're doing that, for those of you who are interested in checking this out, there is a bonus. It's available for 72 hours, which is a 20% off coupon for Draw Attention. That coupon code is LifterLMS. You can grab that over at lifterlms.com/draw. And Nathan has also generously offered to if you send him a link and show him what you've built with Draw Attention, if he adds it to the showcase, he'll double the length of your license. So if you get really creative and build something cool and want to share it, that's a neat way to get an extra year for free of Draw Attention.
Awesome. All right, I'm back. It's quit for sure. We've got the video showing up in that tooltip. And I think because we got so much information in here now, I've switched it back to a lightbox layout. So now there's more space to show that video. So you can have that. You got your learn more link. So yeah, lots of ways to kind of show and have more information as they kind of explore through your content. And then, of course, here's the shortcode, which you can put anywhere. You can put in that LifterLMS course, or lesson content, or quiz, or just on your sales and marketing pages.
Yeah, and if anybody's having any like epiphanies or ideas, let us know in the chat of what you think you might do with a tool like Draw Attention. What could you build, or even if it's not for your course, if it's just a course idea? Because I just keep getting all these things flashing through my head. Like if I'm teaching massage, I might be like, highlighting different parts of the body, or if I'm, teaching some kind of business process, I would like create an infographic out of that to make it a little more digestible, entertaining, and easier for me to remember. So I don't know if anybody has any cool ideas to share. I'd love to see them in the chat.
So yeah, I mean, I think we're probably ready to open up to some questions. I think I've kind of shown the basic pieces of customizing specific image and kind of highlighting some of these different things. But yeah, I would love to see what people are thinking about building, or open up to specific questions.
Cool. If you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature as we go, and also raise your hand if you'd like to talk live. Anthony asks, how do you create the hotspot? Do you draw them within the plugin? So I think you touched on it real quick, but maybe show us again.
Yeah, here, I'll just pull that up for him. Probably.
And Jonathan, he's just sharing an idea in the chat about using a tool like this for creating learning about facts on nutrition. It's one thing to just get like a statistical document about nutrition facts. It's a lot more fun if you make something, visually appealing about nutrition that's kind of creative and fun.
So you basically just draw the little spaces on here. Let me pull up I think the one that had the admin. We actually went past it. I didn't draw them on on here for the sake of the time. But.
So you're basically you're doing a bunch of dots to create the outline, which is really cool. It's not just like a square, a circle, hotspot. Like it could be whatever shape you want.
Yeah, you can do any shape. There we go. So they're basically like when you're editing any of the images, you get the area to like draw all those different spaces. So you put in the title. After you upload your main image, then you're going to draw each of those areas. Like you say, I want to make a new highlightable area. You give the title, and you could show the more info that you want to show. And then you highlight each of those areas, and you can use that drawing tool to kind of draw all of these out.
Here's a creative question from the chat. Someone's asking if maybe you could do like some kind of clever zoom in effect. Like if you were looking at the Earth at first, and then you could zoom in on the or a specific country, and then on a town, and then a house. Is there a way you could think to maybe do that?
Yeah, so there isn't like a way to like necessarily do that like all dynamically and fluidly in one screen. But what a lot of our users are doing are actually cross-linking multiple of these images, so you can link between multiple. So we actually have that like for these real estate projects. Like the first screen might be an overall map of the whole project, and then if you click on an area or a quadrant or a little village or something, it will then go to another page, which then has another draw attention image, and you can kind of do it that way. But
that's cool.
Because we really want everything to be content that works really well on all devices, including your mobile phone, like we just have not found a way to do that reliably any more clever way than that, because there's just so little space and so much less specific things that you can do once you're on the phone, right? Like you can't tap into the scroll wheel or these other things. We really want it to work everywhere.
Yeah, that gets back to that kind of that branching. Like if you had a picture of space and the solar system, and then you click on Earth, and you click on a continent, then you go to separate draw attention pages. You can go zoom in on whatever you want to zoom in on.
Right.
And another question from Anthony: can you trigger short wave files for sound effects? And I'll just also context that, add to his question. We have a lot of language learning people. Mm-hmm. I could see someone like click on a map, and then you click on the picture of the school, and there's something that says like escuela, if I'm teaching Spanish or whatever. Can you work with audio?
Yeah, so you can do any kind of shortcode. I know that, I don't know about Wave specifically, I assume it's supported. I know I've seen like that embed shortcode for MP3, which puts like a little default player. You could also, if you have any kind of other audio plugin, like with the audio player, you could put the shortcode for that there, and any media type that it supports. But yeah, I've definitely seen that where you show more info in a little pop-up, and it's got either a video or like a little audio clip that you can play. It gets a little tricky because I think if you close, I think most browsers, if you switch away to a different area, like if that div gets closed, I think the audio stops playing. So you don't necessarily want to put an hour-long podcast in there, but if it's a 1 to 30 second audio clip, I think it'd be totally appropriate to have it there.
Yeah, for me, just from a sales perspective, like if I had a course site and I had like a picture of some of my customers or whatever, and you could click on them, and then instead of having a written testimonial, maybe do that, but also have like a spoken version of that. That'd be super cool.
Right. Okay. And I was trying to get a sample install up so that I could show you the actual drawing in a more clear way. So here is an image. So like we came in the draw attention, we uploaded our image here, and then all our other styling and stuff is over here, but I've just kind of collapsed those. So it's just the hotspot areas that we're defining here. So it's really easy. Like if I wanted to add a new area, I would click that button. Then I could just start drawing, right? Like I could say I want to highlight this leaf. Hopefully I don't already have that highlighted on here, I'm not sure. And you can correct this after the fact. You can remove certain spots or re-drag them around, or you can drag the whole shape around. You're not like totally locked in. Like you could come in and perfect this later if you wanted to as well. So I've drawn there, leaf, put in some filler text. Okay. Show some more info. We could show there's a leaf. I'll show that. So, in this one we have the highlight all areas on by default, so you can see it.
Very cool.
There's our leaf. So that's basically all you have to do to make a highlightable area. It's pretty easy. Just add and then draw those points.
So Dale asks if you can use it to pop up a video when you click on areas? I think we already answered that one, but which is yes. And then he mentions, so it's a tool built into courses or for use on any part of the website, a modern approach to image maps. So yeah, you can use it anywhere. Could you maybe describe, Nathan, like what image mapping means and how this is like innovative compared, like an innovation on traditional image mapping?
Yeah, so I mean, back in the 90s, like image map was like the way basically you did exactly this. You would load it up in your Adobe Go Live or whatever your tool choice was at the time, and you would upload one big image, you know, that was like your whole navigation bar, and then you would draw little boxes around the coordinates of each of your menu items, and then you would click on it. So image maps are still like there in, you know, and supported by browsers. They've kind of gone out of style because, you know, they don't scale or respond down well on browsers. But that actually is, you know, we're bringing image maps back. So this is a modern take on that, where we're like everything is drawn as an HTML5 canvas, and so it's fully responsive. But it is basically the idea of an image map, and it could be applied, you know, not just to courses, but yeah, anywhere in your site.
So Jonathan says that you are his hero, and he has been looking for a good way to do this. Don't let him down. And Jonathan also said something earlier, I think, about draining his pocketbook. But now he's also asking, do you have a lifetime license?
Yeah, if you shoot me an email, we don't have it like on the site, but we do have a lifetime option that we can upgrade you to.
Cool. Let's see what else. I think you answered some performance questions, but someone's asking specifically, how does this load? How large are these files? Any other kind of performance info you'd like to share?
Yeah, so it's the size of whatever your source image itself. Like, we don't modify it. It's just whatever you upload into the media library. You know, we're displaying that on the page, and then all these highlightable areas are that canvas, which is really just text to the browser with coordinates and color information. So I mean, it's really small. I mean, it's maybe a couple kilobytes, which is nothing. So really, the only weight on the performance is your source image itself, and then how much content you're putting in. Like, this image has to get loaded as well. So, you know, just kind of use judgment. If you're going to have like 500 areas and each is going to have like a big image like this or something, you know, that's a concern. But there's nothing, and the tool itself is incredibly lightweight. So all we're loading is the coordinates and the color information. And then if you're using the Lightbox or the tooltip script, we load that, but that's only 10 or 20 kilobytes as well. So, you know, I would say like 90+% of the performance weight on your site is going to be the content that you choose to put in there. The tool itself is not very heavy.
Yeah, and for those of you out there, whenever you add an image to your website, you know, making it a much smaller file size, even though it takes a little extra time, and you can do that like in pretty non-technical ways. Like, you can put it in your iPhoto, if you're using Mac, like library, and then export it at like quality medium or something, and that's going to like dramatically make the image a lot smaller, and it won't even matter for the internet. Right. In terms of, it'll look exactly the same. So yeah, it's a good best practice. Keep those image files light.
Yeah, there's a really good plugin, also just plug for somebody else. I don't even know who makes it, but there's this plugin called Insanity, and it'll automatically resize any huge uploads that you put up. So if you just like upload some, you know, 100% quality image from your iPhone, or, you know, some other 5 megabyte image, you can set rules and it will just automatically size that down, because like nobody needs something that large for the web. So let me see if you can see this. You can just say like, you know, the max size I really need is like this pixel dimension. And so anything that you upload into the WordPress media library, it will like automatically do that and apply that JPEG image quality compression if it's a JPEG. So this is a really cool thing. Like you can just install this plugin and set it up once, and then it'll kind of do that compression for you automatically.
There you go. That's awesome. So that's Insanity.
Yeah.
And just to dig in a little bit more on the SEO question, I want to make sure I understand you right. And I know you or I may not be like hardcore SEO experts, but for all intents and purposes, the images and the content that you put in your pop-ups, from an SEO perspective, it's still as if it's just on that web page, right? So like in terms of indexing or whatever. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes. In fact, I can show you like it's...
So maybe Nathan is an SEO expert.
Yeah, I mean, we did want to build it that way. So like all of the content is loaded here in divs. They're hidden, but all that content is on the page. So we have your H2 tag with each item. So we did build it to be like search engine optimized. And here's your content. So like this stuff is on the page, even if it's not displaying. It's not like it's loading it in with Ajax, meaning like if it does it kind of on the fly, then a browser wouldn't, or a search engine crawler wouldn't see it. But because it's actually all on the page, they are going to see and index that content. And in fact, the plugin actually works, even if JavaScript's disabled, it's not going to look as pretty and it's not going to highlight and light up, but all your content actually shows up on the page. It'll just show each of the areas down below, and it will actually downgrade to an old school image map. So you can actually click on this and it will just jump down with the anchor tag. It'll just jump down to that spot in the content. So it's totally built for search engine stuff as well.
That is super cool. And just that makes me think of a performance question. So are you saying that like if I'm loading a page like this that has like 8 images on it, does the page need to wait for all 8 of those images in the pop-ups to load, or do those kind of load when you open up the pop-up each individual?
No, the browsers these days are smart enough that like it can tell that the image, the HTML is there that says, hey, here's the image. But the browsers are smart enough to realize, hey, this is in a hidden div, like it's not displaying on the screen. So we don't need to load that image right now. The rest of the page doesn't need to wait. It actually defers that to be one of the last things to load, because it knows, these browsers are optimized to load as quickly as possible. So it figures out, it gets all the HTML, and then it figures out what do I need to download and what do I need as a minimum to display. So it'll download this image, it'll render all these shapes and stuff, and it would only download these last things like at the end when they're needed.
Cool. And we've got, since we hit on the topic of SEO, we've got a couple SEO questions here. So somewhat unrelated, but let's engage here. Kind of related question with regards to image. How do you title them for best SEO? And I just want to say, like, from my side, that's one of my main SEO. I'm not a hardcore SEO guy, but one of the things I started doing like 7 years ago is just taking the time to actually title my images with whatever's in the image, relevant keywords I'm going for. Even just taking that small action. Yeah. Nobody does that. Most people's image files are IMG 01573. Like Google doesn't know. So so when I have websites, like the images do contribute a lot to SEO value. So it takes longer to do, but just title it with keywords and stuff. And always try to do it like with integrity. You always want to do it. The image needs to contain the words. You can't just stuff keywords on an image of an apple that's related to something completely different. But that's my strategy. Do you have any tips on that, Nathan?
No, I mean, yeah, the file name and doing the alt text for the image that you're uploading. And then if you're using draw attention like this, then you can load it up even more, like, because that image is going to be right next to and associated with this title and with this description. You can just put more keywords and, emphasis.
A lot of content there. And Jonathan was clarifying, for example, I just saw my image default title and it's language /Filipino-alphabet /attachment /language Filipino-alphabet /Filipino-alphabet. So there's a lot of repetition in there. This is more of an SEO nuance that I don't necessarily know the answer to, but in general, keyword stuffing isn't going to help you. Like by mentioning it more than once. Back in the day, people used to do SEO by like putting the same word 100 times at the bottom of the web page. Those days are gone. I don't think that's your question, but it's not going to help you to add it more times.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's probably more important than what you're going to put in here. I mean, it's better to call it, closer to what it is, call it leaf.jpg or Filipino alphabet.jpg. But it's going to matter much more like that you put stuff that's relevant and actually informative, in this area. So yeah, definitely retitle them so they're not just image123.jpg, but I wouldn't worry about it too much, and definitely the stuffing won't work.
One more SEO tip, especially looking at draw attention here, is I'm personally not scared of outbound links. So if you're going to send people away to a Wikipedia article on the old-fashioned drink, and you've got that in your pop-up description, great. So that's another thing that's going to add some SEO value there. And just one more point while we're parked on this, how do you describe the alt text? Like, what is the purpose of that on an image, Nathan?
Well, aside from search engine value, like it's really built for screen readers. So for the vision impaired or or using other accessibility tools, like you can see what that image is on a very low internet connection. It'll at least show what that alt text, so you can kind of know what's coming. Like you have some information while you're waiting for the bandwidth to download. But these days, I mean, just from a practical perspective, like there is SEO value to it because Google is using it to look and see what, intuit what those images are. I think Google takes it with a grain of salt because, they know if you're putting in that alt text that you might be doing it for SEO purposes. So, same thing with keyword stuffing, don't lose sleep over it or spend hours doing it, but it's not going to hurt just to put like something descriptive in there.
That's awesome. Jodalyn has a question. Before I get into that, if anybody wants to talk live, go ahead and throw your hand up. Happy to chat live if you have a question or just any comments for Nathan. But Jodalyn's question, hold on, I lost it for a second. I remember what it was though, so I'll just paraphrase. She was asking, are these images included with draw attention? So basically, do you have any demo content or anything like that? You said you had some like styles that look good, which I think is super cool, like some color palettes for the styles and the highlighted areas. But what about images to starting points for people to play with?
So we don't like ship it with any default images. You're welcome to have any of the images on our site. And we have like an export functionality, so we can actually export all of the coordinates and everything between sites, so you don't have to redraw. So we're happy to provide that, but generally like the use cases are so varied and specific that we haven't really found like a set of images that would be like useful. I mean, it'd be nice, I guess, just to play around with something, but haven't found like a set of content that would be useful for the average draw attention user because every use is different. But those color templates are really helpful. We did add that like after our initial release because even like we built this cool thing and then I was like trying to use it on a few different projects and like I'm not a designer to begin with, so I'll say that first, but it was still like it was kind of like GeoCities back in the day. Like everything I built looked just kind of these really extreme weird colors and they didn't really fit together. So having those color packs are really helpful, and then you can tweak it from there, but gives you somewhere to start from because you want a highlight color and you want all these colors that are just slightly different than each other but go together. And you're putting text on the different background colors too. So I'm not sure if that answered the question, but if you want one of our images, just let me know and I'll send it to you.
Cool. And just for people out there, there's a place I go to called, what's it called? Templator, Untemplator. I'll come back to it. But if you're looking for images that are available that have the correct Creative Commons license that are available for quote commercial reuse. Actually, I remember it now. It's called Libre Stock. That's a place that I go to. That's actually a place to get images. So if you definitely want to respect the author rights of, you can't just take any image off the internet, but Libre Stock is a good place to go to get some content. Also, Kev made a comment and a question going back to the audio question, that if he was teaching music, especially for kids, he could use it for music reading interactivity. So imagine like sheet music where people could click on different parts of the notes and hear like the sound of that note. That's a super cool idea for teaching music. I really like that. But his question is, would that load effectively or bog down the user?
Oh, like loading up the audio? I think it should be fine, especially if you're not like...
And they're short. It's just like one little note, right? Like 1-2 second.
Yeah, those should be really small. So I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And definitely, and language learning too. Like if you're just teaching a word, that's a very short audio file. People often think of like giant podcast lessons or like an audio hour delivery of a class, but there's a lot of like micro audio that I think that can be utilized. Anthony asks, can you please post where I can go to purchase all 3 products from the last 3 classes from one page to bookmark it? And I think Kathy down below has shared. We've got 3 separate pages on our site with the bonuses mentioned and links over where to get it. And then because these are 3 separate products, it's going to be 3 separate checkouts. Am I correct, Nathan?
Yeah.
So sorry about that, but these are kind of, but that's what's really neat about Nathan is there's, in the podcast episode we did with him, which we'll put another link to that down below. I just realized how, even though these products, from appointment scheduling to making your website future-proof to making interactive lesson content, these are all very relevant things to you, the course creator. So it's really awesome that you came on and did this masterclass series with you. So Tyler just got it, and he's building it out right now. It's awesome.
Awesome, Tyler. Nice name, by the way.
Yeah. Patricia asks, what is the image website? When I was talking, that's called Libre Stock. So I'll see if I can get a maybe Kathy, you can find a link to that and post it down below. Or someone, Kathy already did it. She's that good. Thank you, Kathy. And cool. So we've got a couple more questions here, and I don't see any hands up. Somebody, if you want to go live and talk to us, feel free to put your hand up. Can you build out your own branded color palettes? Like, can you create like a template that you like to use, like for your image map, your hotspot and template styles?
Sure. So yeah, we don't have a like an easy to builder in the UI. If you know some code, you can actually add them. But if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. And you can at least duplicate your draw attention images, so you could reuse it. You could also export it and import it to other sites, which would have your same styling. So you may not necessarily need, just by exporting and importing your same image, you would get all those same styles. So not quite as elegant as having it in the drop-down menu, but you don't necessarily have to re-enter all of those styles every time.
Cool. And Graham asked a question. If you're issuing certificates in LifterLMS, does nonlinear use of web pages, jumping between pages, mess up certificate completion in LifterLMS? That's a really good question. Lifter itself is really, it's nonlinear in that people can jump around, but there's no such thing. There's not like it's not like an adaptive branching path where it like the course itself changes. But I think one of the things I can't remember where I heard about this recently. I think it was actually, I interviewed Chris Davis from ActiveCampaign. He's the director of education at ActiveCampaign on my podcast, LMS Cast. That episode is not live yet. It's very good, by the way. So that's coming soon, something to look forward to. But he was talking about in online training, where there's all this focus on the completion, which makes sense. I talk about it a lot, like people don't complete courses as much as they should. Really low completion rates is an industry problem. But one of the things he was saying is that sometimes it's more about the journey than the completion. So if you have a bunch of lesson content about, let's say, doing your first business, getting it up to $100,000 in revenue, or taking your successful business from 100,000 to 1,000,000, or whatever it is, whatever you're training about, the people are different and they may not all need everything that's in your course. And so with this kind of nonlinear thing, it's not that it's that they get to the right lesson that they need help with. So like if your lesson 1, it has some kind of diagnostic, really cool image map infographic thing, like where are you struggling right now? And you click on the part about marketing, or you click on the part about, coming up with my product idea or whatever, it's going to take you to a different part in the course. So I appreciate that question, Graham. But yeah, it's, you could use this to jump between different lessons, but that's really what it would be. Just making it cooler and easier for people to find the lesson that they're looking for. But it's not going to necessarily, you still would need to, if you are doing a certificate that requires 100% of the lessons to be completed, they would still need to circle back and complete all the lessons. So, all right. Kathy, let me know if there's any questions on Facebook. And then what I'm going to do is just mention again, if you're interested in this, check out LifterLMS.com/draw. And we've got 2 bonuses there. One is the 20% off coupon for draw attention for 72 hours from this live webinar recording. That coupon code is LifterLMS. And the bonus number 2 is if you make something cool with draw attention and send it to Nathan to include on his showcase examples page, he'll double the length of your license, which is really generous. Thank you for that, Nathan. And it doesn't look like we have anybody who raised our hand wants to go live, which is fine. Jonathan Farley says, thanks. Thank you, Jonathan. We're going to draw a winner, too, for the LifterLMS giveaway. So we'll get that drawn in a second from the people that are here. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for the good questions. We appreciate it. Dale asks, are the links to all the tools being posted on the Facebook page? I'll make a note to do that. Just do a little recap post of Nathan's tools over there. And also remember there's a, at the bottom of LifterLMS.com, there's a webinars tab. So we put all our webinars there so that you can find them at any time in the future. So congratulations to, hold on, we're having to redraw. The person who won has left the building. So we are redrawing. So give that a second to happen. Thanks you guys for sticking around, especially all the, thank you everybody, especially who came for all 3. Nathan's a great guy with some really great products here. So I was really happy to introduce him and these ideas to you all.
If anybody's too shy to ask the question now or has a question back on one of the earlier ones, you can find me in a few different places. But there's live chat on Simply Schedule Appointments and Staging Pilot, which are both me 90% of the time. So feel free to pop in there anytime.
And congratulations to Jonathan Kamba. You won the $99 LifterLMS add-on, or you can apply it to something else in our store, your existing license, get an extension. So congratulations to Jonathan. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nathan. Check out LifterLMS.com/draw. Do you have anything else for the people, Nathan?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for coming and spending your Monday, Tuesday, and/or Wednesday with us.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Nathan. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. We will. I'll go ahead and head over to Facebook right now and post a a list of the of all the things we talked about. So that's there for if anybody wants to go browse through just the recap of the master classes and the replays. So the pages that have these bonuses on them are the same pages where we post the replay video once it's been processed. So it'll take a little bit to get that all set up for this one from today. But those links will be up. Again, they're at the bottom of the LifterLMS website. If you need any links that are in the chat right now over on the side of the Zoom there, go ahead and grab those before we close the webinar. And hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thanks, Nathan. Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, everybody. Bye.